I'm Lawrence Francis, host of Interpreting Wine, where today we look ahead to Festival Naturalista 2024 in the company of organiser Nadja Miklusicak. This year's edition takes place on Saturday, 1st of June 2024. Nadja and husband Andrej have made wine in Svaty Jur, Slovakia since 2018 under the brand Naboso, and since 2019 have been organising one of my very favourite wine festivals, Festival Naturalista, taking place in the garden behind Naboso Winery, perfectly balancing the visitor experience with a rotating selection of local and international winemakers, great food, music, and an all-round relaxed atmosphere. Nadja takes us on a look inside the Naboso origin story, gives us an introduction to their home, Svaty Jur, talks about where Naboso wines are enjoyed around the world, before giving us an insight into the local winemaking community, taking us on a virtual tour of the vineyards close to Svaty Jur, looking back on Festival Naturalista 2019, the first edition of the fair, before looking ahead to this year's edition, giving us a full rundown on all the invited winemakers, before sharing how you can buy tickets, which are on sale now and selling fast at naturalista.sk, link below in the description, and I dare you to listen to today's episode and not want to attend. Enjoy!
I'm Nadja from Naboso Vino in Slovakia, originally from Germany, but my husband Andrej and me, we do the winery together, and he's from Slovakia. Both basically it's just the two of us, and both we are basically the owners, and Andrej is our head behind the wines we do. So from everything tractor or handwork in the vineyard to everything in the cellar and all decision makings of the whole winemaking processes. And he knows basically in his head already before what kind of wine he wants to do. That lies everything in his hands. And at the moment we are working on around 7 hectares. And I'm helping outside as well, everywhere I can. Now having a small daughter that got a bit less in the last year since she started walking. So I'm a bit more stuck in the office and doing, when she's sleeping, all the office work, from accounting to any kind of marketing or social media things. And so we have it a bit at the moment divided like this. Beside this, we have one older man who is helping us mainly in the vineyard, but also if we need a hand with some bottling. And then we usually have during the year an intern staying with us, which is changing. It's most of the time for a few weeks, and then someone else is coming. And so it's an additional pair of hands for Andrej in everything outside. That's basically like a very short introduction to the two of us. But it's basically the two of us.
And of course, that's, as you say, scraping the surface, I'm sure, in terms of all of the different tasks that you have to kind of juggle and stay on top of as you go through. I'm sure there's you're like a pair of ducks. It seems calm in the surface, but the feet are very much going under the water.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what would be interesting, Nadja, is just to know a little bit about, I guess, the connection with Svaty Jur itself, because we were just talking before. I've been lucky enough. Actually, I visited twice. I visited in 2018 when it was the middle of winter.
Yes, I remember.
And then I visited in 2022 when it went for the Naturalista fair. So, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of people listening who maybe never heard of Svaty Jur and certainly haven't been there. So I think it would be interesting just to make the connection between, I guess, you both and Svaty Jur. How did that come about?
Svaty Jur is a small town, like around 5,000 people living here, and we are directly outside of the capital of Bratislava, so it's like 10 minutes basically to the outside of Bratislava, and also only around 20 minutes, half an hour to the Austrian border, so it's like an hour from Vienna, so we are very on the western side of Slovakia, of the country. But yeah, even though that we are so close to the capital, we are completely in nature. So whole Svaty Jur is surrounded by vineyards, and also in the back like only forests. And the region we are in, it's called Small Carpathians. So it's like the Small Carpathian Mountains. So you get out of Bratislava into like starting in our towns, like this little hills are starting, which are then growing and leading into the high Tatras, the highest mountains in the country. So yeah, we have like these little hills. I mean, some of our vineyards are lying on a kind of flat area, and some then in these little hills and close to the forests. That's like where we are basically located. But our winery itself, we are located like in the center of this little town. So we are really on the main square. It's like from the outside not really visible how it looks behind, basically. So we do everything in our house. So we live here. We have the wine cellars under our house. All our vineyards are close by. So we have one which is like a bit further to direction to Bratislava. But all the rest, because the 7 hectares we're working on is divided in many different plots. All the rest is very close by. So we harvest and we bring everything into our home, basically, and then everything is happening here.
You know, as you say, you're downtown. So as you say, you have these. It kind of reminds me of a lot of towns I've been to in Austria as well. Where the roads are so wide, it feels kind of so big. But there's not that many people living there, and it's quiet. And as you say, you kind of tend to kind of go in to the houses, and then if it's a winery in your case, it's kind of then opening up, and it's quite big inside. But yeah, you don't know exactly what's there behind. So when you then decided to set up there, what was kind of the I guess some of the decisions before that? Had you had a connection with Svaty Jur? Say a little bit about that. I guess the years or the months before the place.
So like I said before, I'm originally from Germany, so I came here a little bit later. But from Andrej's side, he is born and grew up in Bratislava, but moved already many years ago to Svaty Jur, and also some of his further family still lives here, but there was like no connection like with the family winery or anything. So he did his first vintage of wine in 2011 when he lived in a house here, which also had a wine cellar, which nearly all in this like center of the town, all the houses have usually some wine cellars. So he was able to do his first vintage with one of his neighbors. The woman, her husband died, and she basically offered him like, let's do some wine. I have the vineyard, I have the grapes. And Andrej back then, didn't also do wine before. So he started with her to do his first vintage. And the passion for making wine basically started with this. It's actually, a very nice story. And, then he did, of course, I mean, with the winemaking, you have one trial a year. So like every year he basically did it again. And so like this, of course, his knowledge grew, his interest grew within the last years. And but the winery we do right now, we do together basically since 2018. This was when I came here. So he did wine before, also with another guy together. But we decided then, okay, we go on with the project, give it a new name. So we decided for Naboso. We decided for the new labels and everything. And the base was here because the wine cellars, are in our house. So the base for this is here. And so 2018 we started together, but still sold. The first vintage we sold under the Naboso was 2016. So this was Andrej's 2016 and 17, where we had quite some bottles, which was also for us then the start of to see how the people react, how the people like the style of wine we do. And and then we grew within the last year. So we were both working for wineries in Austria until 2022. We still worked for other wineries and did our winery basically in the evenings and weekends. And so now we are, since 2022 on our own and just focus on our winery. Grew with the amount of vineyards we're working, grew in producing bottles to be able to still do it ourselves, but also, of course, to survive and to live from this.
For me, it's still really inspiring. A couple of things there. The fact that as you say, somebody in terms of this, the lady who kind of invited Andrej to work together and to, get his start, I guess, really, I think you never know where saying yes will lead you to.
Yes.
In the big scheme of things, it might not have been the right time, or it might have been not something that really, really called his attention. And
yes,
your life goes on a kind of a completely different path. And then I think also there, that last part of the story is really interesting, which again, I didn't know, where you said that you were still, this kind of 18 to 22, where you were still kind of working for other people, but the Naboso project, you were able to kind of, as you say, put in that extra time and grow it and kind of, have it kind of building up there, because it was being made in your house, and the fruit was being harvested from into the house. So I think that'll just be really inspiring for a lot of people who are kind of trying to do something similar, maybe come from their job to doing something in wine kind of for themselves.
Yeah, it needs a lot of passion and a lot of will to do that. So you really have to love what you're doing to put, like you said, the extra time. Or basically all your free time and all your money as well, it's, to get to the point that you want to do a living out of it, that we had the plan in our head kind of when we started, but of course it was also in our head or written on a paper. But if it would be possible to really transfer it into reality, we didn't know back then. But luckily we work with many great people who support our wine all over the world, basically, which made it possible for us to live this, what we love to do. So,
And maybe just a small point on that, are you, or actually what percentage, more or less, would you say are the wines going out into the world, and maybe where might be some of the places that the listeners might be able to meet those wines out there in the world?
Yeah, definitely the majority. I mean, it's hard to say like in percentage wise, but the most. I mean, Slovakia is a small country in general. The most is happening also like in the capital in Bratislava, and it's still a small capital with around 500,000 people. So it's, it's growing and growing, and that's great. But of course, the most is leaving the country. I mean, we have a good partner in Slovakia, which is great, who distributes our wines also like outside of the capital, where we also personally don't have that much connection. So that's amazing. And all the restaurants in Bratislava, we have the direct contacts with them, and they support the wines, which is great. But the most goes out to neighboring countries, to countries in Europe, but even the most outside of Europe. So Asia is more and more countries. We started with Japan as the first Asian country, and now we have it like distributed to South Korea, Thailand, Taiwan. So it's like Asia is really getting more and more. Then of course the US and also Canada is more. So it's a lot of countries, and we are very happy that like all these people from so far away basically are drinking wines from Slovakia. And it's also nice because wine from Slovakia has not been like so popular. People didn't even know we're doing wine, even though we are so close, for example, to Burgenland, which is a very famous wine region in Austria. And so, it's very nice that this getting spread around the world more and more.
Yeah. And, and I don't know, potentially, because I know there are many other people in Svaty Jur itself making wine. As you say, if you're living in a house with a cellar, you may as well get involved there. Can you say something a little bit about kind of, I guess, the neighbors who are making wine there? I mean, is there kind of a quite an active community in terms of how people are making wine, sharing information, and then do they tend to kind of sell more locally perhaps than you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a big winemaking community. Like you said, nearly every house is making wine. Not everyone like in professional selling, lots of people also for self-consume. but because the structures are there in most of the cellars. But I think even Svaty Jur is like in Slovakia, like second or third, like biggest town on like related to the population, the amount of winemakers. So it's a lot. It's a lot of people doing wine. So the community is big, and even like the community between, if you want to name it, like winemakers who work naturally or not naturally, but still we are doing wine. And so it's nice that even this is overlapping. So you communicate, you kind of work together in many things. And but the way of let's say organic natural winemaking, we are like maybe around 5 in the town who work that way. These are also the winemakers who are joining Naturalista, our festival, every year. So that's our solid crew of winemakers for the festival as well. And of course, the connection and the communication between us is even closer. But there's, for example, that's also a place where we met in 22 is like the wine bar, Vineyards, just up our road. He's working, the owner is working naturally as well, but he's supporting the winemakers from Svaty Jur. So he has to offer usually like 10 bottles by the glass, which is everything basically, but which is great. So he's, of course, supporting this, has been produced in this town. So there is a big community. I mean, honestly, Andrej is more in the contact with all of them because of the Slovak language. So I'm not 100% good with that. But there's a big community. There's even like a, how you say it in English, like the kind of a wine club, like winemakers club who have annual meetings and things like this. So where lots of things are discussed. And and luckily it's also getting more and more that people working also on the abandoned vineyards, for example. Again, we have lots of abandoned vineyards around Svaty Jur, and this is like growing more and more that people are taking over and bringing this back to life. And so it's a great community. We have lots of also little events with the wines, and it's a really nice wine community, definitely.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, and I absolutely felt that. I've still got my Vino Centrum T-shirt upstairs. I should have worn it today. But it's again just I love that. I've always said that for me, I really love the kind of smaller capital cities of Europe. So I love Bratislava, but then I also think that somewhere like Svaty Jur, I think it's got its own appeal as well, because again it's got so close to vines, which are always grow in beautiful places, guaranteed. But then it's, as you say, it's also got that community, and I did certainly felt that seeing Vino Centrum and seeing the way that all the winemakers sort of came together at the fair as well, and even I think it's great that you kind of reserve those slots every year for local people as well.
Yeah,
so you kind of do get a multi-level. But just before, I mean, again, I want to get back to the 2024 edition of the fair, which is only 5 or so weeks away, which is, I think, always an exciting kind of period. But I do as well just want to virtually take the listeners into those vineyards as well, because again, I can totally agree with what you said. I think we pretty much walked, from memory, it was about 10 minutes from Svaty Jur. You just pretty much, as soon as you leave any kind of paved kind of dwelling area, as soon as you leave that, you're heading up those pretty gentle hills, and then you're pretty much straight into vineyard area. So I think that the way that makes the most sense would just be maybe to maybe just, are there any vineyards of yours that are close by, or a vineyard site that's close by? Just maybe just describe what you see when you take that short walk up the hills.
Yeah, like you said, it's like really, really short walk, and you're entering the vineyards. Like from our house, it's maybe like a 3-minute walk, and you're already like walking a little bit up the hill. And our closest vineyard, I would say, is like a 10 minutes walk, like really up the hill. So it's not like on the complete flat area. And it's like our vineyards are all in the direction facing to Bratislava. So they are. And you can basically walk from our house nearly to all of them. So it's like everywhere is like a little plots. And if you walk through the path, it's like, we have the forest always in the back, which is, it gives a very nice feeling. I like to have the forests around there. I mean, it's not always easy with having the vineyards close to the forest because of all the animals who love to have our grapes for a snack. But it is beautiful. Like if you walk from vineyard to vineyard, you're in this, in this vineyards directly, but always have this view to this forest. And I always, for myself, I always think it's a very nice feeling. It gives a very nice energy. And Yeah, so you basically walk a bit up the hill, and then you also already see Bratislava from far. So there is even a small viewpoint like on the way to our vineyards as well. And you have this view to Bratislava, which is, I mean, it's not a big skyline, again, not a big town, but yeah, it's pretty nice. And we have this like a bit on the other side of Svaty Jur, like not facing to the forest. You have also this kind of little national park with some ponds and water reserves, and you see all of this as well from the hill. So there is basically nothing built, and you just see the nature, which is completely different than again to the vineyard or to the forest. So it is pretty nice. And yeah, like when you go up, everything is pretty like stony. Yeah, so we have lots of granite in the soil. So we have big mother rocks of the granite, and even if you walk up, you always see it around you. You're climbing kind of a little bit over it. And I like the nature very much because it's so diverse in a way, you know. So you're like in this, of course, vineyard kind of monoculture, which could, you know, sometimes look because everything looks the same. But as also I said, we have lots of abandoned vineyards where really nature took over the vineyards again. This is like you see this a lot when you walk around, and plus then all the other nature around. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's great description. And I think that, you know, the only thing I might add, just as a, you know, personal memory, because I would have been there in June, isn't it, the fair, and of course June, beautiful weather we had, and you know, super lots of life and lots of growth, and you know, lots of sort of buzzing around in those vineyards. But I think as well, you know, what you said there just reminded me, you know, it's again probably obvious point, but this isn't your kind of very, you know, stereotypical, heavily mown, you know, pristine looking vineyard that you might have seen, you know, on a wine bottle somewhere.
Yeah.
No, it's very much, yeah, it did feel as though, you know, that influence of the forest, the influence of grasses, you know, very much felt like the vineyard was kind of alive, and it felt like it would be difficult to probably get any mechanical equipment in there, because, you know, again, it's not the sort of perfectly flat, you know, like Bowling Green kind of stuff. It's still, you know, it's just alive, isn't it? It's just kind of very real, I would say.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't find a flat spot to put a table to have have an event.
No, this for sure not. But no, that's correct.
Brilliant. So yeah, I feel like we've, you know, given a hint, you know, a kind of a snapshot of kind of what you've got going on there. And, you know, there are, you know, 1,000,001 questions that I'm sure I could ask, or that you know, you might be asked when people listen to this. But that being said, you know, I do want to kind of keep the focus on the fair, you know, because I think I'm really interested to kind of zoom in there, because it's a, you know, relatively recent fair. So maybe that might be a good place to start, you know, just in terms of, you know, slightly looking back. You know, why did you start the fair? When did you start the fair? What do you kind of remember of the first edition?
Yeah, the first Naturalista was in 2019. Looking back, I even sometimes ask myself how Andrej and me did this, because we started like with the winery, how it is now in 2018, which is like just a year after. So sometimes I really think like, how did that happen? Yeah, but it actually, especially the first one, happened so naturally that it was, one thing led to the other mainly. But the main thought, like, of course, while drinking most probably some glasses of wine, Andrej and me had is like that we have this beautiful garden, and we had the idea, okay, we would like to open the doors to like once a year to invite some other people, but we knew directly we don't want to have the focus only on us, like doing like a, I don't know, open day Naboso Vino or something like this. Of course, it's part of it, but we were more like, okay, we would like to invite friend winemakers, like, friends who work in a similar way like we, all winemakers. We love the wines, and then maybe one day we get to be friends. So we wanted to have different kind of winemakers here, also to show then on the other side the Slovak community or people in Slovakia these beautiful wines from the other people from other countries. So we knew exactly that we would like to do something like this. But we had, of course, at the beginning, not really an idea or complete picture in our head, how it will look like, how it will be at the end. So like I said, it founded itself a little bit. Also, the amount of winemakers. We were then here and there talking with someone and said what we want to do, and they just said, yeah, I'm gonna come. For example, I was talking with Bianca and Daniel Schmidt from Germany, from the winery, and so she was like, yeah, I'm coming. And I was like, okay. And like this, it added a bit up that we ended up, I think the first one was also like 13, 14 winemakers in total. So this naturally happened, like, who is coming? It's like, yeah, I'm coming. I'm like, wow, okay. And I was like, okay, we need to have some food. And then our good friend Peter from the restaurant Heimlich Wirt, he's in Golz in Burgenland in Austria. We talked with him and he said, yeah, I can imagine of doing the food for you there. I'm like, okay, cool. So we have a chef. And another friend, Adrian, he's a graphic designer and artist. He's from Svaty Jur. He started to draw the first graphic for the fair. And other friends, they do music. So they said, yeah, we're going to do the music on the day. And then, yeah, everything added up like this. And yeah, of course, the first time with something like this, you really don't know, even when we talked, like about the amount of people, how many people will come? Is it even going to be successful? How is the weather going to be? Yeah, how much food the chef needs to prepare? Like, how many bottles of wine the winemakers need? Like, how is everything going to be? Yeah. It's hard to say, and you don't really know, and you just do it and find it out, basically. And but yeah, it was a huge success the first time. The weather was amazing. I mean, hard to say now how many people were there, but maybe around 300. I'm not sure, but yeah, the food was sold out. The winemakers had no wine anymore. But yeah, the aim also behind it is a bit, therefore we also don't call it officially fair. We call it more the festival because we have an amount of winemakers where we think it's still possible for professionals to taste everything. But also for everyone else, you can buy a glass or you can just buy a bottle for drinking there in the garden, for taking home, whatever you want. So it's like a mixture in between. So also now in the last years, we had quite some professionals coming, like from other countries as well. And they said, like, the feedback from them was always, it's great because you first can really professionally taste everything. And then you just grab a glass, you grab some food and you chill in the garden the rest of the day and just having a good time. And yeah, that's great. I mean, we still all love and appreciate big wine fairs, and we need it also. There are many good ones. But yeah, we just wanted to offer a little bit something different, and also what is like fitting, of course, in our garden as well. And yeah, so this is how basically back in 2019 the first one happened, and so we decided to go on with it. So like I said, we keep the winemakers from Svaty Jur who work in a similar way. We keep them every year the same, but the rest of the winemakers are changing every year. So
they are, I think you mentioned, is it 5?
Including us, we are 5 now. Yeah. Okay. So, and the rest now we are having in total 15 winemakers. So the other 10 are. I mean, also we always have from other region in Slovakia, 1 or 2. And then again, most of the time it's also happening naturally. We meet each other, like other winemakers during some other wine fairs during the year and talk about the festival. And most of them actually come then like that. We said, okay, don't you want to come? And that's how it's happening. Most of the time, how we get our list of winemakers basically together. And I have to say, we are really lucky that really amazing people until now really made it to this little fair in a little country where they're maybe not even exporting yet or anything, that they come and enjoy the day with us, which is really great. And in 2020 and 21, unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to cancel. So it didn't happen then. So 22 was the next one. And then we decided from 23 also to, like, we changed the winemakers, that we also change the chefs, so that we give every year another restaurant basically the opportunity to cook, and which is of course for them on the same side also some advertisement. So we had last year good friends from us, they have a small restaurant in a co-working space in Bratislava, it's called Dvanas Duši. They made food. This year it's Bistronomy, it's a restaurant in Bratislava, they do the food. So like this, we also decided to change this every year a bit. And and now we are 5 weeks in front of the 4th edition, basically already. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I hope this will be, cool for you to listen back to as well, in a few years' time even. And, but I think it really does strike me that you've got again those sort of physical constraints. So I think it's in some ways it's just sort of maybe helped you because you know what to say no to. I'm sure there are lots of when you have got growth like that. I'm sure there's lots of people that give you lots of ideas, but you've got that filter. It's like, this is our home. These are the people that these are our people all year round. This is where we're based and where we live and where we work. So it's like, you know that first and foremost. But I've got to echo. I think that what you said about the professionals very, very, very accurately describes my experience there. I think I was probably tasting and on the professional side early on, and then the just sort of you got to enjoy the wine. And I think I remember ending up on a hillside somewhere around a bonfire at about the end. So it's one of those places you never know where the will kind of take you, but always very, very good vibes, I've got to say. So I think that would maybe last sort of couple of questions really. What can people expect for 2024? Maybe start to fill in some of the names. Who are the people who are going to be there pouring? Who are indeed, if the chefs, or when I was there was an ice cream stand as well, and coffee. Yeah, who are some of the people who are going to be appearing?
Yeah, ice cream, unfortunately not this year, but it's the 1st of June is the Kids' Day as well. So the ice cream there are somewhere else and making some children happy, which is fair enough. So, but yeah, exactly. We have coffee. This is also the same kind of story of how something is happening very naturally. Matej, he's having a very small roastery called Spaceship Roastery in Slovakia. So it's basically a one-man roastery. It's just him. And already when we posted the first edition in 19, he just sent a message like, hey, I'm having a coffee roastery. Don't you need a stand to sell some coffee? So like, hey, actually not a bad idea to have some good coffee. So yeah, he's a solid member as well of the Naturalista family since the first time. So he's coming every year, and basically also a friendship started to get out of this. He comes during the whole year sometimes to help us with some harvest or this and this. And so yeah, that's a very nice part as well. Yeah, the food, like I said, is Bistronomy, the restaurant from Bratislava. Mm-hmm. And yeah, our friends who always do the music, they're going to be there as well. And Adrian, who does the drawing, he's always having a small art exhibition around, where people then also can get some of his paintings. And, so this year, we're having again, very, very great winemakers coming. So I can tell you the names basically. So we have, Athénis de Beru from Chateau de Beru in Chablis in France. Mm-hmm. Then Amélie Ligas is coming from Domaine Ligas in Greece. Max Dexheimer from Germany, and also Weingut Odinstal for Biodynamic Winery from Germany. Mm-hmm. And Christian Cida is coming from Austria. So he's just basically hopping across the border. Then a small winery called Solo Winery from Hungary. We were able last summer to taste their wines for the first time and really loved the wines. So, And then we have Ota Ševčík from Czech Republic. He's very small winery, but one of our most favorite winemaker in person and from the wines. Really amazing person and really amazing what he puts in a bottle. So we are very happy that he comes as well. Then we decided for one non-alcoholic drink. So we have Euphoria from Czech Republic. He's doing this like a fermented like birch sap. So he's gonna come with his creations, basically. It's very interesting, and maybe in between also not too bad if it's getting a hot day again. Something non-alcoholic.
That's it.
And from Slovakia we have two from different region, which is Bodfriches and Mavlatindo. So total different regions also from Slovakia. And then our solid five basically who stay every year is this Branjo Barna, who is the owner from Vino Centrum, from the wine bar, Michal Bajalik, Milovin, and our good friend who is basically a bit the mascot of the drawing, Roman. His winery, it's called Slinko Laska Pokara, and he's doing one wine, living on in a small house on top of the hill from Svaty Jur. And yeah, he's gonna be at our table again with his one wine. and us at the end. And we are happy again that, if people come, maybe not going to see us on our wines, we are sorry for that, but we have to run around on this day a lot. So you're going to see a beautiful young girl pouring our wines. This is Clara, Andrej's older daughter. So she knows everything about it. And she's doing an amazing job on that day as well. So I'm sorry if we are not there in person, but it's just, very crazy in running around all day and answering a million questions. So that's the lineup for this year. And we are extremely happy with all these people from different countries who come over for this one day. And around this will be also this year, on the Friday before, usually there is a dinner planned. It's not planned by us. It's called Vineyards. They do food, let's say, in different kind of locations. And so they do a dinner also on the hillside in Svaty Jur. It's going to be for, I think, maximum 30 people. They're soon going to announce it on Instagram. Then it's open for booking. This will be then like a set tasting dinner with the paired with the wines from the Svaty Jur winemakers of Naturalista. So with the 5 winemakers. And and then as it is a during the day event, which is ending around 7 in the evening, lots of people go to Vino Centrum, which is just around the corner. And this year we also additionally have like a kind of after party in Nuda Bar in Bratislava. It's a small wine bar where he will basically have around 2 wines from each winemaker from the fair. So we're not going to be there in person, but still for like retasting or just having some fun at the bar, whoever goes afterwards back to Bratislava, there is something happening as well. And
no, I absolutely love it. I'm just smiling to myself, hearing the descriptions, and as I say, remembering what a fantastic time that I had when I was there. And I think just really, final question for me is really just to say something about the attendees, because I think listening to you talk, it's been really interesting. Talking about the mixture of where your the Naboso wines are going to, talking about hearing about your background, hearing about the fair itself, the people who are going to be there, how that sort of organically came about. So I just wonder, could you say something about the people who are there? Maybe as you've already sort of mentioned, professionals, kind of non-professionals, but then are people coming from mainly Bratislava? Are they coming from other parts of Slovakia? Are they coming from Austria internationally? What does that sort of look like in your experience?
It is really extremely mixed now. We have to say also a bit thankfully to Character Wine Fair because it's just a week. It was a week. Now it's a week and a half before, because back in 2019 before COVID, Character was still in the winter in December in Vienna. But also after they had to cancel, and since it is back basically in Austria, they moved it to this end of May, which is like around our date. So lots of people from international people who are then deciding to travel around in whatever like neighboring countries to visit some winemakers and stuff. They come a week later than to us. So last year we had 2 girls from our importer in Montreal here, for example. We had the year before some guys from our importer in the US here, because they just came back before they then flew back home from Vienna. Also like people we work with from Lithuania were here, so they really just booked the flight. I heard already a guy from Mexico seriously only comes here for Naturalista. So it's getting crazy with this. But of course, the majority, I would say, it's still, of course, people like local people. But it is really now a nice mixture from people from Slovakia, from neighboring countries, if it's Austria or Hungary or Czech Republic. But then because of people are around, because of the other fairs, of these really international people. And therefore, it's also the mix between professionals and non-professionals, like really from people who professionally taste to people who are just interested, maybe have a glass here and there, and then really buying this bottle and chilling in the garden. So it's like really a mix from everything, which works perfectly together. So I think, it's really nice to see like where all these people coming from and making the way. We are lucky also, of course, that we are so well connected to also public transport or anything. You can, from Vienna, you have the 1 hour train to Bratislava, and you just hop in another train and you're in 12 minutes in Svaty Jur. So we have a train station, bus station, and even taxi would be not crazy expensive. So of course, this is also a big benefit that we are quite easy reach. And but yeah, so yeah, really, really nice mix of people. I remember this experience, I think it was in 2022, that they were a couple and they were speaking English. And so I was like, in between like all the madness, I was like, where are you guys coming from? I'm like, yeah, we are from Tasmania. I was like, what are you doing here in our garden? And they were like, yeah, we're traveling around Europe. And yesterday we went to this wine bar and the owner said, there's this festival tomorrow. Maybe you check it out. And then they came, and it's super, super interesting, like how these people get all together and ending, at the end in our garden. It's really nice to see.
Most important question, arguably. How many tickets are still left? Are you tracking the number of sales? Are they...
Yeah. I would say it's now like roughly the half of the tickets are sold and the half we still have. So the first 2 times we only had sales on the door. And since last year, we do the pre-ticket sale. And last year it was then a day or 2 before we were sold out. So we couldn't have any tickets on the door. If this is the case, of course, we're gonna post it then that no one stands in front of the door. And we don't have any tickets anymore. But so now we started the sales on the 1st of April. And so now we have another 5 weeks and we are like halfway basically already with the tickets. So it could happen again that maybe we're not going to have at the end on the door because, we have to do a limit. It's not an open space. We're like with endless fields behind. So it is, it is a closed space basically. And there has to be a limit that it's not too extremely crowded.
A huge thanks to today's guests, Nadja Miklusicak of Naboso Vino and Festival Naturalista. Please reach out to Nadja and Andrej to let them know what you thought of the episode and to ask any questions you might have about the wines or the festival. You can find them on Instagram at Naboso Vino, or one word. As mentioned, the last remaining tickets for Festival Naturalista are now on sale at naturalista.sk, link below. Here you can also find names and pictures of all producers and artisans who will be present. And if you do get to the show, make sure you say hi to the guys and let them know you heard their interview on Interpreting Wine. See you soon.